So let's talk defense. So if you take the Michigan game and put it together with the rest of the season, that's the Georgia defense. Dominant, best defense in the country by far, not even close. Then you take the Alabama game, and it's easy for anyone to say, okay, well, Georgia didn't play any good offenses. I don't agree with that. Maybe they didn't play one of the three best offenses in the country, but again, very few teams do because there's just not enough games played across the country. No, they didn't play Ohio State, or I don't even know how many explosive offenses there are out there that they didn't play. Anyway, point being, some people might excuse it away as well. They didn't play a good offense. Then they finally played Alabama. But again, all you have to do is compare scores and what happened with other teams, whether you're talking Kentucky, Auburn, with other games, and put it all together. In the Alabama game, sure, they played by, there's no question, the most talented offense that they're going to play this season in that game. But it also just doesn't add up in terms of their performance.
Yeah, no, I still don't even have an answer to what happened. It's just they honestly, all the players were just like, we didn't play ourselves, and I think they kind of started getting a little too confident all season long. Kirby said all of them were like, we're not quite where we want to be. We're not quite where we want to be. We can be better. And then all of a sudden we feel confident for the Alabama game and with this and this. And so I think they seeped in, that rat poison seeped in just a little bit for the SEC championship. But they redeemed themselves against Michigan and proved it to everybody. And something that really stands out to me is they have 223 quarterback hurries on the year. And if you want to compare that to Alabama, they had 45 the last time I checked. Yeah. So when Georgia puts pressure on quarterbacks, they get the job done. And that's something that I'll have to give Alabama's offensive line credit for. But they got a couple of guys that are banged up and hurt from the Cincinnati game. So it'll be really interesting to see how Dan Lanning changes his game plan from, early on in December to now, because when Georgia puts pressure on the quarterback, it's on. And another thing that they need to, kind of remember to do is not to leave their secondary hanging, because if, that is the biggest weakness, and Alabama exposed it. And we all thought Michigan was going to be able to do whatever they wanted to against them. And I think Michigan had two passes tops over 30 yards, if I'm remembering correctly. Don't hold me too tight there, but they didn't. They stood up and did their job too. But with Chris Smith being able to come back after getting ejected in the first half of the Michigan game, it's really big, because he gives another level of depth that Georgia just really doesn't have there. Next year, Georgia's secondary is going to be something really special to look out for, just because they will have the depth. But that's just going to be the glaring weakness if the front seven can kind of, cause enough pressure but not leave their entire back end of the defense hanging too. So that was the biggest glaring thing in the SEC championship, is their lack of pressure and them kind of leaving the secondary hanging. But other than that, this defense has just got to be themselves. And as I know I've said it like twice or three times now, and it's cliche, but Georgia has a defensive unit that can dominate and bully opponents, and they've done it all year long. And I don't care if, Auburn finished what they did, or Arkansas did, or whatever. Like, those offenses were coming in red hot, and Georgia shut them down. And if Georgia can come out and punch Alabama in the mouth, which they did, that was another thing that I'd probably bring up. Alabama had 9 explosive plays, if you're considering passes over 15 yards, I believe, and runs over 16, something like. Anyway, you know what an explosive play is. They had 9 in the second quarter alone. You take away that second quarter, they had 3 total. So when Georgia was kind of getting pressure or whatever, like it was a lot more efficient on defense than it was in that second quarter. And they just can't let that happen. It'd be a different ball game if that quarter didn't happen. And so many people are like, yeah, well, it did. And I'm like, but if you break it down, you take away those 9 explosive plays, Georgia and Alabama both finished with 12 each. And Georgia did like 2 or 3 each quarter. They were consistent. It was just that terrible defensive second quarter that killed them. But I have a feeling Kirby and them are just going to be kind of hard on them and harping on, this is where you leave your legacy. And you don't want that SEC championship game to be the glaring weakness in this season. And so it's your time to either step up and prove you're the best defense since that 2011 Alabama won, or Alabama's going to get you again. So it'll be interesting. Kind of a ramble there, but.
No, you're good. So, Savannah, the first thing that you said was that you're excited. I'm going to guess that it's excitement mixed with a little nerves.
It is. I mean, Alabama always brings that kind of unsettling stomach feeling as a Georgia fan because you just don't know. Georgia's done what they've done all year. So what makes Alabama so different? And it's not like Alabama did this to teams all year long like they did a year ago. So it's a lot of mental, I think. And if Georgia can find a way to kind of focus, put the blinders on, like who cares? You're in a national championship, but you need to treat it like it's another game, like you've done all year long. Don't care who's Alabama. Don't you just play your ball game, and they should be okay. I mean, the stats say what they do. It's frustrating because it is Alabama, and it's been 7 straight games of either falling short or just getting blown out. And it's time for Georgia to leave a legacy. Nolan Smith said yesterday in his press conference, like, that's what the defense wants to do. They want a legacy. They want to end that drought. And it was just like, that's what kind of team they have this year. And no disregard to the 2017 one or anything like that, but this group has the only biggest difference is the run game. But other than that, it's time to put up or shut up. And while I'm nervous, I also feel pretty excited because it is, a second game in the same season, and Georgia's able to kind of know what they're going to do. And Alabama didn't have that much time to change their game plan. So we'll see.